Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and on Zoom I have John Schlag with me. Hey, John.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, and it's great to talk to you. We just had a wonderful conversation about you and your work. Everyone should listen to it. It's the podcast before this one, I believe number 632, and episode 633, if I'm getting the numbers right. You will be answering the Discover Indie Film 4 questions, but before I list them out, I'm going to talk about you and your film for one moment, which is the reason you're on this podcast is that your film Painstaking was at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival in 2025, in December of 2025, took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Short Film Dance, and it's a beautiful film, and if and when you release it online, if you remember to fire off an email to myself or Karina, the podcast producer, we'll put a link to it wherever it ends up so that people can watch the film as well with these podcasts.
Yeah.
But Lord knows after hearing us talk about it, they should want to watch it. Shame on them if they can listen to us go on and on about it. But anyway, so
the film is way shorter than the podcast.
The film is much. Yeah, isn't it wonderful that you can talk about a 4.5-minute film for 6 hours if you want.
I could, but I won't.
Yeah, exactly. I could too. I know. Lord knows, I have had some podcasts. I've had people sitting in my dining room go, "Oh my God, I've got to go to work. I talked too long," and we didn't even get in the 4 questions. But with you, we're getting them in because we're on Zoom. So the 4 questions you're about to answer are: name 3 favorite films, name an underrated film, name an overrated film, and name a lesser-known film for people to seek out. And it's obviously just a fun way to have a discussion about cinema. So you want to just hop into it?
Great, can do, sure. Yeah, and I challenged myself a little bit because you gave us advance notice on this one. Frankly, this would be hard for me to do off the top of my head. But having advance notice, I thought through this. I decided what I wanted to do is try and cover as many genres as possible here. This is a sort of challenge within a challenge to me. So for 3 favorite films, the first one combines sci-fi and comedy. Science fiction, by the way, is already a combination of genres. There's science fact as well as science fiction. But at any rate, combining sci-fi and comedy, that film is Galaxy Quest. The film stands on its own. It's funny. It's great fun. It's got it's a bulletproof story. And growing up as I did, I'm old enough to have seen the original Star Trek when it aired. Knowing that Galaxy Quest is in some ways a send-up of Star Trek makes it all the much more fun. You agree?
I agree 100%. I too grew up on Star Trek, although I believe I saw the when it was in syndication in the early 70s.
Right.
I didn't quite catch first release, but also it's really a love letter to Star Trek.
I'd say so.
Right.
Yes.
Instead
it's not a hit piece.
Right. It's not mocking it, but it is a perfect screenplay. I think that is one of the best. My assumption is whomever wrote it, I probably should know that, it was just too good a film not to get made.
I think it's extremely well crafted. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I'm sorry, I was gone from Industrial Light and Magic by the time they did the VFX for it. A friend and colleague of mine, Dan Goldman, was the CG supervisor for that, and says he enjoyed it very much. And having people of the stature of Alan Rickman in the film, I thought it was doing offbeat comedy. He was just hilarious. Rest his soul. I'm sorry we lost him a few years ago. Okay, item number 2. Because it's the holidays now, I've been thinking of holiday films. And so, maybe holiday is not a genre per se, but there are endless academic arguments about what a genre is and which is this and which is that. Anyway, under the holiday category, let's call it, of the many adaptations of A Christmas Carol over the years, there have been musical versions and almost every shape and size and description. Scrooged. Just last year, there was a film out, I think, with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, which I thought it's funny. It's a musical. It's very nicely done. And yet, when I go back to Scrooged, I think it is the perfect modernization of A Christmas Carol. Bill Murray is hilarious. Karen, I'm sorry, not Armstrong, Karen Allen, whom of
Karen
course
Allen.
everyone came to love in Indiana Jones and Starman. They're just terrific. And it does modify the story a little bit, but the humor in there, and if memory serves, it's Alfre Woodard as playing the role of Bob Cratchit as Tiny Tim's mother. It's just a wonderful packaging of A Christmas Carol. Up to and including the way Bill Murray, you have to have this line in there if you're going to do this story. Somebody at some point has to say "Bah humbug," and Bill Murray's choice as an actor of how to deliver that line, I just thought was a sort of fulcrum on which the entire film rested.
I
Anyway,
I will confess that as you were introducing it on your list, I was I was saying to myself, I hope he says Scrooged. I hope he says Scrooge because I
really,
agree with you and I believe it was written by that Saturday Night Live writer Michael O'Donoghue who always did the
oh,
darkest
okay.
and he would sometimes perform on SNL and he was just had the darkest sense of humor possible.
This explains a lot.
And the fact,
Okay.
but also I think the ending of Scrooge with the Annie Lennox song and whatnot, I think
Yeah,
I cry at the end of that film. I think
it's
it
beautifully
becomes
done.
so emotionally touching.
And there's this sort of faux audience interacting thing during the credits with, Bill
Which
Murray
again, only
basically
Bill could do, right? I mean, my
improv and
goodness.
yucking it up with the audience. Yeah. Yeah, great fun. My daughter is very what I would call dark positive, and she and I used to watch this every year at Christmas.
Wonderful. All right,
Okay,
well, one
film
more.
number three is the only one I'm putting in here, which I have actually worked on. This would come under drama. This one is Forrest Gump, and there are uh, a couple of big shout outs there. While I was working on Forrest Gump, our visual effects supervisor on Gump at ILM, Ken Ralston, and I were standing around waiting for dailies to get started one day, and he said, I'm so amazed and just in wonder at the tastefulness with which Tom Hanks approached this, because it could have been Gomer Pyle, but Tom Hanks looked around at the people in the area where they were filming. He took cues for his dialogue from, the young boy who played the young Gump. Um, a lot of people, Robin Wright did such a terrific job with Jenny. A lot of people feel that that she walked away with the film. And so to have two strong characters like that, and of course, I love Gary Sinise as Lieutenant Dan. Um, between the three of them and the supporting players, I mean, Sally Field, um, just an amazing assemblage. And it is, I haven't read the book, but in so many cases, people say, oh, the movie's not as good as the book. Forrest Gump is one of the few films where people say, you know what, the book was kind of mean-spirited and we like the film better. That's opinion, of course, but there you are. Okay, so
Well,
your next
I'm with you, and
question,
I always
yeah.
considered Robert Zemeckis, in spite of his huge success as a director, I always feel that he's a bit overlooked for just the unbelievable skill level that he worked at and telling these stories. And it's such a yeah, it's such an it is just such a wonderful film. It really is.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Back to the Future series, am a big fan. And when Forrest Gump came along and we, found ourselves, I came onto the crew a little bit on the late side, and I was parachuted into supervising the crowd replication sequences for Gump, the DC War Memorial, putting crowds in the stands for the China ping pong sequence, including, and a lot of people don't know this, the ping pong ball is CG because Tom Hanks
Yeah.
cannot hit a ping pong ball like that.
I remember when the internet was young-ish, or maybe 10,
Right,
15 years ago,
right, right.
the clip of Tom Hanks swinging his arm with the blue
Yep.
screen behind him or the green screen behind him.
He must
And
have
then
set
they'd
up a
show what it looked
metronome.
like at the end where
Yeah.
they put the ping pong in with VFX.
Mhm.
That was so well done.
Yeah.
And probably
Many
cutting edge
well
at the
done
time, I
things.
imagine.
Kind of in a couple of arcane technical ways I won't go into, but yeah, the crew I worked with on Gump was just fantastic, including some folks who had when I first got to ILM uh, for Terminator 2, they were still making optical composites, and then that went the way it did. CG took over. These people basically disappeared for a year or two while they were either trying other things or retraining, and then dropped back into the crew for Forrest Gump, and they were just fantastic to work with.
Yeah. Well, I'm always tempted to mention this with Forrest Gump, so I will, which is I remember when I believe it was the I just remembers them as someone I think it beat out, Pulp Fiction and whatnot. And I remember someone asking Tarantino what he thought of Forrest Gump, and something about the question was implying that it wasn't as good a film. And he said, "Are you kidding? That's the best film of the year. That might be the best film of the decade." That he's like, "I love everything about. Don't look at my work and assume I don't appreciate Forrest Gump. I love that film. That film
That's
was,
hilarious. I've not heard that story, so thank you, because
yeah, yeah. He
Forrest Gump
he
at the theaters had a very long tail. It went up. I think people went back to see it over and over again. They would take their friends and go see it again. Another film would come up a few weeks later and peak and would have better sales numbers than Gump for that weekend. And then it would disappear and Gump would be back on top again. And this went on for weeks and weeks. It really was amazing. And I look at films like that and try to understand how you make decisions about tone. Tone is this uh, composite concept of word choice in the screenplay and voice diction by the actors, costume design, lighting, by the DP, everything. Um, how Forrest Gump plays out just makes you feel good. I don't know how they did it.
it really is. It really is. And you know what? Not to talk about it too much longer, but Zemeckis had also done like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so he was always
Mhm.
doing cutting edge, dangerous stuff that you he I just always say to myself, he must just be the most amazing person in a meeting with studio heads because he talks them into doing films that they don't trust. Like there's no way they trusted that Forrest Gump would be a success.
I didn't trust it when I signed on to the crew. I'm like, you're going to put words into the mouths of dead presidents? Are you kidding me? And it comes out. It's hilarious, really. I worry a little bit about what people would
Yeah.
do with today's technology, but there it is. All right, your next question was a film you feel is underrated.
Yes.
Okay, so I've been through sci-fi, combining that with comedy, holiday, and drama. This one is about family, if that's a four quadrant, whatever. Lovely little film. I also used to watch once a year with my daughter when she was young. Fly Away Home. This is with Anna Paquin or Paquin, Jeff Daniels. It's just a beautiful little film about a young girl who's I think her mother is deceased. She goes to live with dad, who is he's a very nice guy, but he's kind of flighty. He's a sculptor. He's very busy in his studio, and she's on his farm and discovers a clutch of goose eggs, which has the parents of for whom have been chased off by I don't know developers or tree cutters or whatever. So she takes the eggs, puts them with a incandescent work lamp in a drawer of her chest of drawers, hatches them, and the story goes on from there. It's just beautifully done. She basically becomes the mother to these goslings and ends up, she and her dad build ultralight aircraft and fly with the geese and teach them how to migrate. Um, it's just beautifully done.
Wow, I remember when it came out and I remember when it was in theaters. I never saw it. So I guess I gotta maybe
Fly Away Home. Yeah,
I'll
it's
try to watch it
highly
soon.
recommended. Yeah,
I'll try to watch it soon. All right. Well, the next question is a film you feel is
okay.
overrated.
Overrated. Okay, so next genre, noir. A film I feel is overrated. Chinatown. Over and over, you hear people, especially in screenwriting and filmmaking classes, saying, "Wow, Chinatown is so great." I think it is an extremely well written and well made film. It's not by any stretch the only one, from that era, especially I think there are many wonderful films. What bothers me most about Chinatown is that uh, this guy smacks a woman around, and the people I hear saying, "Oh, Chinatown is such a great film," are uniformly male. Really makes me wonder, like, what do women think when they view Chinatown, and what do they have to say about it when they talk about it?
I agree. I agree. And yeah, it's one of those films that does get held up on, it does get put on a pedestal. And I'm with you. I appreciate a lot about it when I've seen, I haven't seen it for a long time, but very often things don't hold up. It's always interesting what holds up and what doesn't over time, and it makes me think of titles like Casablanca that for me hold up perfectly and feel timeless. And then there's some things
It's
you
amazing.
watch
Yeah.
and you say to yourself, wow, that doesn't hold up at all out of its own time.
Yeah, Chinatown, I mean, to be fair, I think does hold up. What's interesting about it is that it is based on the relatively obscure water wars of the LA Valley, which, to the enviros among us is well known history. But if you told me, even knowing that history, if you told me I'm going to write a screenplay based on, the LA water rights wars, I'm like, have fun storming the castle, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, long, long before, um, oh, good heavens, I'm blanking on it.
Hamilton?
Hamilton, yeah, long
Yeah.
before Hamilton, he got to meet the Obamas. And the story goes, he pitched Hamilton to the Obamas saying, I want to write a musical. It's going to be rap, and it's going to talk about Alexander Hamilton and forming the Treasury Department. And they looked at him and just said, have fun storming the castle. It just does not sound like a great concept. And yet, and then there's Hamilton. So, and now Lin-Manuel Miranda is, rightfully acknowledged as a genius and has done a lot of other fun things, including Mary Poppins. So, yeah, you never know what's going to come out of these concepts. All right, your
Absolutely.
last one is a lesser known film that people should seek out.
Yes.
All right, so last genre, rom-com. This film is called Red Rover. I found it at random, I think on Amazon Prime. I think it is a perfectly structured rom-com. It's a very lovely little piece. It stars Christian Braun and Kara G, or Gee, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, who um, became, I think, very famous for her character of drummer in The Expanse. It's a magnificent science fiction series that ran for, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons. Um, the two of them just do a wonderful job. I kind of don't need to really tell you anything about it other than that, nothing. The male lead, Christian's part is pitched as a geek or a nerd, and nothing says nerd like a guy on a beach with a metal detector. So I won't say any more than that. That's how it begins. And if you watch the trailer, they will tell you he is trying to win a spot for a one-way ticket to Mars. And so there is some wonderful film within a film making there.
And I haven't seen it. Now I want to. And I admit, I became a fan of his on that Orphan Black show,
Oh, okay.
which is actually some pretty darn good sci-fi of its own.
Oh, great. All right. Well, there's one I haven't seen, so we're
And
trading
uh,
references.
and
That's
you
great.
reminded me that I tried. I gotta watch The Expanse because I've read a couple of the books. There's too many books associated with that
Yes, right.
universe,
And
but
they take so long to read.
they take and there and then you take too long a break in between books and you can't remember the
Right.
richness
I,
of that universe.
I
I
do love
know.
reading, but there's so much to keep up with there's so much good writing on television now that we're having a wonderful time, mainly me, keeping up with that. There's a couple of things I can get my wife to watch with me, but she just inhales books. She's a very fast reader, which I am not. So even besides the fact that I'm not spending a lot of time reading, when I do read, I'm very slow at it. So it took me a year to read Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace, this massive tome. Yes. Yeah.
I John just watched
Encyclopedia.
me throw my arms in the air
Yeah, right.
because that's
Let the record show the interview is throwing his arms in the air. Yeah.
I that Infinite Jest is it's my Bible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is a long read, but I haven't read it for many years, but I have read it cover to cover 3 times in my life,
Mhm.
and I got to
Well,
add a
there's
fourth.
there's another little lesser known film, if I can throw a tag on, which is Jesse Eisenberg playing a New York Times reporter who interviews the character is David Foster Wallace. It's called The End of the Tour, and it is about the end of the book tour for Infinite Jest and what
Yeah, in
David
fact,
Foster Wallace was like before his untimely death.
I think didn't John Krasinski of The Office direct that?
I think you are
I
right.
think he did because when he did it, I thought, oh man, he's angling. He wants to be the director of the eventual Infinite Jest
I
adapt.
wondered.
Because I heard
Um,
HBO bought the rights to Infinite Jest, and I kept praying they would do it right. But I guess they chose to not do it at all.
Krasinski, if memory serves, also directed, what is it, Brief Interviews with Hideous Men?
Yes, he did.
Right. So there's a
He's
definite
clearly
Foster
a David
Wallace
Foster
thread there.
Wallace
Yeah.
fan. Yeah.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, that's my list. Thanks for the chance to go over these things. It was a lot of fun and a little bit, hair pulling to try and go over all this territory, but also to try and hit the genres, as many as I could, at least. There are so many.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, I'll wrap us up. I'll first thank you, John, for taking the time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. There are a bunch of links in the show notes all about John Schlag and his work. So click on those and learn more about John. And there are also links in the show notes for this podcast and the film festivals that were born or that it was born from. So if you go to discoveryindiefilm.com, that is for the podcast. At DIF Wins is also for the podcast. That's on all social media except X Twitter. We jumped off of X Twitter because we did want to be there. But and if you go to discoveryindiefilm.org, that is the website for the nonprofit that runs 2 film festivals in the LA area. Sherman Oaks Film Festival, where we showed John's film Painstaking, and Film Invasion Los Angeles that we hold every June. Sherman Oaks is every December. And you can learn about both festivals if you go to discoverindie.film.org. And I call them sister festivals. They get their cousin. Their cousin is born. They're getting a cousin next year in January 2026. Although maybe this year. I think this podcast is coming out first week of January. So 2 weeks from now, the first ever Film Invasion Lima in Lima, Peru is being held. So I imagine I'll be telling people how great it went at some point. All right.
That
Thank you, John.
sounds fun. And you better believe we'll be coming back to you in 2026 with this year's crop of films to submit.
Wonderful. Glad to hear it. All right. Well, thank you, John. And thank you, everyone, for listening.